They once told me I'd never make the team, but I proved them wrong. They said our team couldn't win the conference, but we did. The experts didn't give us a chance in the tournament, but we made it to the Final Four. Then, we had nothing to lose, and we won it all.
Down to 7 seconds. You see the time. Whitberg, that's a long ways. They won it. The team of destiny, the Cardiac Kids, North Carolina State has captured their second NCAA championship.
CBS Sports Special, The Road to the Final Four. Now, Brent Musburger.
Good afternoon, everybody. It seems hard to believe that a whole year has gone by since Jimmy Valvano's Cardiac Kids pulled off that incredible upset out in Albuquerque. Here we are again, set to embark once more upon the long and winding road which will lead us to the Kingdome and the battle for Seattle and a primetime nationally televised championship game on the night of April 2nd. And here with me in the studio is our CBS Sports basketball expert, Billy Packer. Billy, is there a Jim Valvano out there? Another Cinderella story we're going to uncover?
Well, Brent, I didn't think he was there last year, and I was proven wrong. But really, this year, I think there are just too many power teams at the top for a Cinderella to make it all the way to Seattle.
All right, Billy. Together, of course, we're going to take an inside look at how this year's tournament is shaping up. We'll get you up to date on the teams that have already qualified and on the schools expected to earn invitations later today. We're going to spotlight 4 dark horse teams, teams you may not be familiar with, but who could have a major impact on this year's tournament. And also, we're going to bring you today's announcement of the 32-team women's tournament pairings. Now, all this is only the start of a big day here on CBS Sports. 1 hour from now, you'll see live NCAA action with Purdue taking on Minnesota in a Big Ten game. Then, we'll take you out live to the final round of the Doral Open, where the conditions today are ideal. Bruce Litsky and George Archer are the leaders, and Jack Nicklaus is right behind. They'll tee off in, just about an hour. Then at 5:30 Eastern Time, the day's drama climaxes with live coverage of the announcement of the men's tournament pairings. Gary Bender will report from Kansas City, where the NCAA Tournament Committee is currently meeting behind closed doors. Right now, Gary is standing by live, so let's check in. What's the gossip out there, Gary? What do you got for us this morning?
No gossip, just facts, Brent. We're in the heartland of America, Kansas City, which is the home of the NCAA, and for the last 3 days has been the home of the NCAA Men's Tournament Selection Committee. The 9-man committee worked until 11:30 last night, and they started very early this morning. As you see, they're around the coffee urn. They're working to select the 53 teams for this year's tournament. Their task is not only to choose the teams, but to seed the teams and select the sites where they will play in this year's tournament. The chairman of the Tournament Selection Committee is Dave Gavitt, the Big East Commissioner. Dave, as I know, there's a lot of good teams. 51 teams that won 20 or more games before tournament time. Has it been more difficult, the selection this year?
I don't know, Gary. It seems as though it gets more difficult every year, and I'd agree with what Billy Packer just said. There are some power teams that stand right out and jump out at you, but then after that, there are so many teams that have so many things to recommend them, but they all have a little softness here or there, too. So I guess in total, the answer is yes. The process right now appears to be more difficult.
Where is the process? At what stage is it?
Well, I think we're pretty much decided on the field at this point, and now we're undergoing the difficult job of balancing the bracket and of seeding the teams in the various regions across the country in an effort to ensure that everyone's road to the Final Four, everyone's road to Seattle, will be equally as challenging and equally as difficult.
Dave, you mentioned the seeds. Have you picked the top 4 seeds thus far?
Well, we have tentatively picked them, Gary, but as I left the meeting room to come down here, somebody was challenging one of them, so it may have changed while I'm here.
I guess one of the big decisions is, who do you send west?
Well, that's certainly a decision, and that's no reflection on the West at all. The simple fact of the matter is there are more teams in the East and fewer schools located in the West, and so we're probably going to end up again, as we did last year, and you and I talked at this very time, having teams travel for balance purposes to fill some spots in the Midwest and in the West.
Dave, thank you, and we'll be back later, of course, with all that. Dave will be joining us at that time. Let's go back to Brent in New York.
All right, Gary, one of the questions, what happens in the East region now? North Carolina was upset yesterday. We'll check into that story when we continue on the road to the Final Four here on CBS in just a moment.
The Road to the Final Four, a CBS Sports Special. is sponsored by Kemper and the independent insurance agents who represent us. For all your insurance needs, ride with Kemper. Tegrin, the dandruff shampoo that keeps working day after day after day. And by Radio Shack, the computer experts with over 6,500 locations nationwide.
Brent, and they're going to go pretty deep into both of those leagues in terms of the caliber of play. Now, North Carolina upset yesterday, as everybody knows. I still believe they'll come out as the #1 seed and stay in the East. A great ball club, as everybody knows, and led by a guy right there that'll probably be the consensus #1 player in Minnesota. The team has so much power inside, like Len Bias, a super ball player with great leaping ability. And there's my alma mater, Wake Forest Demon Deacons. And Carl Tacey again wins 20 ball games. He's got an outstanding backcourt with Delaney Rudd, an outstanding scorer. Wake Forest plays so well in each and every ball game, and there's Carl Tacey, does as much with his program as anybody in the country. Kenny Green, Danny Young, and Anthony Tichy, the leading rebounder in the ACC, scores again. North Carolina State Wolfpack. And Brent, here's a team that's the defending national champion. They had some problems. You can see right there, Lorenzo Charles, who was a role player last year, has developed into one of the great power forwards in the country. Jimmy V is probably a year away from having another great ball club. And there's Charles scoring on the inside as he has so much. Spud Webb, the junior college transfer that can leap out of sight, has had a good year, but they lack some size in the backcourt. And now for the Big East. Nobody's any better than Georgetown, a very deep team, tremendous scoring punch from every area. Patrick Ewing, a great intimidator on the inside, plays so hard with each and every game. He's the ultimate warrior. John Thompson runs that club with an iron fist, and they really respond to him. David Wingate, silky smooth. Georgetown just has so many weapons. Syracuse, Jimmy Boeheim, rather upset in that interview, and probably obviously should be, has the #1 ticket seller in college basketball, in my opinion, in Pearl Washington. Watch this shot right here, and he ran from that point right on into the locker room against BC. This kid can do it all. Tremendous ball handler. Over to Raphael Addison, another outstanding player.
There are some hopefuls. Villanova, St. John's, they would like to get in again. St. Joe's, Tennessee, Chattanooga, and of course Georgia Tech sitting right there too. And Billy, what a surprise for the ACC final today. We've got Maryland against Duke because the Blue Devils, as Billy told you, they upset top-ranked North Carolina.
Perhaps the Tar Heels were simply overconfident. They ran into a hot hand from Duke, Mike O'Leary. He hit all day from the perimeter. And Mike Krzyzewski. He used to play for Bobby Knight, and he teaches tough defense at Duke, but this time he had no response from Michael Jordan, who scored 22. Johnny Dawkins pops a jumper for the Blue Devils en route to their upset. And now, for Duke, they will take on Maryland for the ACC championship. Watch Adrian Branch turn a steal into a stop as he helps Maryland put away Wake Forest. Delaney Rudd had a good afternoon for the Deacons. He scored 20 points as Lefty Drizel looks for his first ACC tournament championship. And Keith Gatlin will help him today against Duke.
Billy, wouldn't Georgetown have a strong argument now to be seated #1, especially in the East, and have North Carolina maybe go out to the West region?
Well, I noticed that we used all our pull with Dave Gavitt to come down, and you know he has the answer, and he's going to make us wait till 5:30. I think they have a very good argument, but you've got North Carolina going to possibly Charlotte and then Atlanta if they were to win, a very good draw, so that may be a consideration there.
Exactly. Well, you know, like North Carolina, Billy, Temple is another school that went unbeaten in its conference, only to be eliminated in the conference tournament. Now, our fans haven't had much to hoot about in recent years, but now, as Dick Stockton tells us, Coach John Chaney has quickly built a winning team that's as entertaining as the school's favorite son.
But I present to you, man of Temple, Bill Cosby.
Perhaps he's Temple University's most famous alumnus.
You got to grit your teeth right now. Every game we play, you got to grit your teeth. Come on, let's go.
But now, John Chaney is giving Bill Cosby and the loyal basketball followers of the Owls something to cheer about, a basketball resurgence.
With the ball, Salisbury with 5 seconds, 4, 3, Salisbury, long jumper in the air. He made it! He made it! Temple, ties the game! Temple, ties the game!
The Temple Owls have been a success story since the start of this year, but because they play in a conference that is not widely heralded, the Atlantic 10, they have really largely gone unnoticed. They have snuck up on people, however, and although they are nationally ranked, you have to look awfully hard to find them.
I think they're terrific. They're a very true representative of Philadelphia in the NCAA tournament.
Senior guard Terrence Stansberry, who picks the pocket of the enemy and thrills the crowd, leads the Owls in scoring. But the most dramatic story is Granger Hall, 6'8" junior forward, who came back with a reconstructed knee where there was little hope for his return.
This year we have Granger Hall, that when we get it inside, we know we're going to get something out of him. He's going to bring a crowd every time he parks his car in somebody's garage.
Granger, you're back, Charlie, you're up with a safety.
Cheney came to Temple last year after a brilliant career at Division II Cheney State, including an NCAA championship.
He's won 80% of his games, and he's graduated 95% of the students, and he grew up in South Philadelphia. That's an easy way to pick someone.
Taking a lead from another champion from Philadelphia, the Owls often begin their preparation before dawn. Why? On many occasions, it's the only time all the players can be together at one time, a graphic demonstration that classes do come first. So if the Temple Owls can gather this early, with sometimes the school president on hand, then maybe the pressure of the NCAA championship might be easier to take.
Pressure or no pressure, it's just, you still have to perform, you know. We'll be just glad to go in the tournament and take the win and go from there.
I think with the team that we have, we can silently sweep through the NCAA and get to the championship game.
No question Temple goes in as one of the dark horse teams to watch. They're solid, but just how strong are they? A few early victories, and people will take notice in a hurry.
We'll reach our peak at the right time, and hopefully it'll be in the NCAAs, and then we'll find out how good we are once we get there.
The Mideast is coming up next here on CBS in just a moment. Turning now to the Mideast region, where 7 schools have qualified for tournament bids. In the Big Ten, it's Illinois. Oral Roberts takes the Midwestern City Conference's bid, and Memphis State coasted to the Metro Conference title as Keith Lee racked up 35 points and 13 rebounds yesterday against Virginia Tech. Now, meanwhile, just down the road, Kentucky qualified from the SEC. The Wildcats beat Auburn at the buzzer.
Joe B. Hall and Kentucky had exchanged regular season wins with Auburn. Joe B's big man is senior center Mel Turpin. He led the Wildcats with 13. But Auburn stayed in the hunt all game long because of plays like this. Charles Barkley on the follow. Then with time running down and the score tied, the Wildcats got the ball to Kenny Walker. And that field goal gave Kentucky the championship.
Another Kentucky school, Morehead State, will carry the Ohio Valley Conference banner. Alcorn State wrapped up the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and the University of Alabama at Birmingham earned its 4th straight bid under Gene Bartow. And Billy, over the past decade, the Mideast has been the dominant region. They have produced 6 national champions.
That's true, Brandon. That you have to take in consideration. In the old days, they didn't move teams to different parts of the region. So when you've got the SEC and the Big Ten in that region, plus strong independents, you know they're going to be good. Here's a good pass on the inside to Kenny Walker, who made the big shot yesterday. Melvin Turpin, sure to be one of the key guys drafted in the pros this year, has had a sensational year inside. Another good feed on the inside to Turpin, who possesses the strength. And teaming with Bowie, there's nobody in the country that's got fellas of that size that can play as well as they can. Here comes Harden down, good ball handling, good pass to Sam Bowie, is coming on so strong here late in the year. LSU, Dale Brown, he's really put together an outstanding program, maybe 1 year away from being really a great ball club. Jerry Reynolds is a silky smooth player on the inside, can score without any problem. And here's a guy by the name of Don Redden, who's had some real big games for Dale Brown. It's a club that's certainly going to have to be contended with if they get in. And here's a team that everybody saw last week on CBS, one of the best coached teams in college basketball. They have a great blend of players. Good pass inside to Ephraim Winters, who is an excellent leaper, very strong. Good shots on the side. Bruce Douglas shoots. George Montgomery with a rebound, another solid performer. And Lou Henson, who really has this club playing well. Here's Douglas coming in, sure to be a key player, maybe on the Olympic team next year. Can do it all. Nobody in the country has done what Purdue has done this year. Picked to be near the bottom of the Big Ten. They've just played so well. Steve Reed and the other seniors on this club have given everything that Gene Katie could ask. Reed going in for another one of his clutch plays, and Purdue has come to the top of the league behind this guy right here, who all of us at CBS picked as the coach of the year in college basketball. Jim Rowinski, another story, a guy kind of a walk-on, has had a super season. Indiana, I guess you wouldn't have an NCAA tournament without this fella, Bobby. Not just calm, cool, and collected on the sidelines, but certainly one of the nation's premier coaches. And with Steve Alford, he's got a guy that's just a great performer as a freshman. Picked as one of our freshman All-Americans, a tremendous shooter, a great ball handler, and Uwe Blab, if he could make catches like that every day, Indiana could cause problems. He's had some problems with his hands. Look at Alford, to Blab, good catch, good shot, and Indiana's tough to beat when they get that combination working. Memphis State, we saw him yesterday, and Keith Lee came alive. And when he comes alive, with Andre Turner in the backcourt, they are awesome. Keith had one of the finest performances I've seen in a big game by a collegiate player in a long, long time. Doom Haynes, who put him in the final with a great one-on-one move against Florida State, and Dana Kirk, who has a solid program going at Memphis State. Louisville, not as good as they've been the last couple of years. They've really been decimated by some injury problems, but they've got right there Denny Crum, one of the great coaches in college basketball. Billy Thompson playing basically on one leg. Charles Jones with an outstanding block, and there he goes, Wagner to Lancaster Gordon, maybe the best backcourt in college basketball. Gordon going inside for the score.
Some of the hopefuls there include Alabama, Michigan, which lost to Northwestern, Dayton, and Virginia Tech. Billy, who do you like now for the at-large entries from?
I like Alabama and that crowd right there. They've had an excellent year, had some big wins, and they've got the athletes to play.
You know, another team destined for an at-large bid has to be Auburn. Ironically, the Tigers were almost knocked off Kentucky again. They get little respect back home on a campus where they follow just two sports, football and spring football. But as Larry Conley reports, all that may be changing with charismatic players such as Charles Barkley, who is known as the round mound of rebound. These Tigers are determined to kick the old football habits.
27 seconds left to play. Michigan 7, Auburn 6. Hold your breath, cross your fingers, say a silent prayer for Al Del Greco. Angle to the right, the snap, the placement, the kick. It's good!
When Auburn won the Sugar Bowl, it signaled an athletic resurgence at this university that just could turn into a renaissance. Because when they hung up their cleats after the football season, they turned their attention to basketball, and they put on their sneakers.
Auburn's Tigers have let go a surprising roar throughout the Southeastern Conference this year, finishing second in the powerful SEC, beating intra-state rival Alabama twice, and knocking off then top-ranked Kentucky. The big reason for Auburn's success is this woman's son, Charles Barkley. At 6'6", 275 pounds, you'd think he'd play tight end, not the pivot.
Charles Barkley is an unusual type talent. He's a fat guy that defies gravity. He's the quickest jumper for 275 pound I've ever seen.
He does things that I've seen no other big man be able to do. He's a human refrigerator. He's a fat boy that can dunk the basketball.
Human refrigerator, the Crisco Kid, Pizza Man, make of Barkley what you will, but one thing is certain. This junior is no flash in the pan. He's a well-rounded player. And he likes to dish out assists to the conference's leading scorer, Chuck Person. This is no one-man team.
I think the major improvement this year is to my supporting cast. The guys around me are just making life a lot easier.
But these Tigers know football is still #1 in the SEC. Even long after the season ends, the Sugar Bowl champs are often honored at halftime of the basketball games. It isn't like the football and basketball teams are competing for their classmates' affections. When the Cagers routed then top-ranked Kentucky by 19, the first visitor to their locker room was football coach Pat Dye.
First time in the history of Auburn basketball that they've ever beaten the #1 team in the nation.
Right. Now Sonny Smith sits with his family, waiting for yet another first, waiting for the phone call that would provide Auburn with its first NCAA bid, a bid that would loosen football's grip on this university.
Being able to go to a tournament for the first time for Auburn University would mean recognition of the basketball program, losing a little bit of the attachment of Auburn being a football school, totally.
And the Midwest region is next, right after these messages from your local stations. Tulsa yesterday earned the Missouri Valley bid, but they had to go to overtime to do it against an inspired Creighton team.
Tulsa is now a basketball school. And here, the school's David Moss will go to Herbert Johnson, who scores for the Golden Hurricane. But Willis Reed drove Creighton. With the score tied, Benoit Benjamin will block the shot by David Moss, and the game goes into overtime. Then it was this play that would win it for Tulsa. Ricky Ross, baseline off-balance shot. And the title is theirs.
Louisiana Tech took the Southland bid last night when they stopped Lamar's 80-game home winning streak in Beaumont, Texas. Houston Baptist will go for the Trans-America Athletic Conference. And last night, in an upset of major proportions, Larry Brown's Kansas Jayhawks took the Big 8 title away from Oklahoma.
Kansas coach Larry Brown orchestrated this upset of Oklahoma. His team broke to a 25-8 lead, and Billy Tubbs was obviously displeased. Defensively, against Wayman Tisdale, they fronted, collapsed, and used 3 men, and Tisdale was held to 17. Inside for the Jayhawks, great job by Carl Henry, and Larry Brown kept the pressure on. Ron Kellogg scored 1 field goal with 40 seconds to go, and it was the margin of win.
You know, he's controversial, but Larry Brown can coach.
He can coach, and he can get a bunch of young men to come around him, and he really leads them. He's the Pied Piper, and guys like to play for Larry Brown.
You know, Billy, the story of the Midwest has to be Houston, because 2 years ago, the semifinals, last year the finals. Can they win it all?
They can win it all. It's a tremendous group of athletes, and I think anybody who's seen their program knows that this man right here, Guy Lewis, and remember last year when Guy threw that towel and got himself a technical, burying his head right there, that was probably after a good play, okay? But this team has incredible athletes. There's Braxton Clark going right there, and Akeem Olajuwon, one of the nation's premier players, going in for the stuff. Here's Akeem, and that was a game on Super Sunday here on CBS against Kentucky where he was awesome. Good play on the inside. Michael Young from the outside with that devastating left-handed jumper. Certainly an All-American caliber ball player. Arkansas Razorbacks, they have done it all this year. And they've got Eddie Sutton, and therefore they've got one of the premier coaches. Joe Klein, and Eddie says he's as good as any center in the country, and he may be right. There's Eddie leading his ball club on. He has really done an excellent job at Arkansas, and he's always had the great guards, and here's another one in the long line, Alvin Robertson, going in for that layup. They'll be heard from. Oklahoma Sooners. Now, we know they lost that ball game against Kansas, but nobody runs the court any better than this team, and no player in America is any better than Wayman Tisdale. There he is on the inside with a stuff. Here he comes down for another stuff. A very inviting young man. Billy Tubbs has brought that program from Lamar up to Oklahoma, and he's got him running. Right here, one of the nation's premier freshmen, Tim McAllister, can shoot inside or go outside. Tulsa's Golden Hurricane, and you talk about a guy that's done a good job. Nolan Richardson came from junior college, brought some players with him, but now he has a solid basketball team again. He goes inside with Ricky Ross, who has been a transfer student and has had some outstanding games this year for the club. Steve Harris, his backcourt teammate, another guy that can really fill it up on the inside. And Bruce Vanley is a big man inside that can score also. So this is a club that's tough. Illinois State. Any team that has a Bobby Knight protege coaching it is going to play tough defense. And there you see Hank Corley going up with his jump shot, hitting from the outside. Bobby Donewald does the job with defense. Had a couple upsets here late in the season, but they're a team that can get in. And for Lamar, losing that game on their home court really had to hurt last night. The longest winning streak, home court winning streak in the country. Kenneth Perkins going in. They're on the fence a little bit right here, but Pat Foster has done an excellent job taking over for Billy Tubbs, and he's got his club on the roll. They may or may not get in. It's going to be close for him, as you can imagine. And there's Tom Sewell hitting the jumper from the outside for a club that loves to run.
Billy, some of the hopefuls there, Texas, San Antonio, George Gervin's younger brother plays on that team, but I'm told they still could be a year away from real national prominence. Let me ask you this. Arkansas, Houston, they're playing for the championship of the Southwest, but isn't it possible now that DePaul could wind up the top seed here in the Midwest? Isn't that what we face?
I think that's a possibility. With Kentucky winning yesterday, it looks like they're going to be the top seed in the Mideast, and now you've got the Midwest. So meaning to me that one of the teams that loses today might get moved out to another region and then leaves Houston and Arkansas right there in the Midwest with DePaul.
Yeah, Billy, you know, one team which dropped out of the Southwest Conference tournament early is Southern Methodist. But with a 24-7 record, SMU, of course, is counting on a comeback. Now, here are the teams that are dominating.
Alvin Robertson of Arkansas scored 20 points. But A&M was determined. Winston Cright on the follow-up. The Aggies out-rebounded the Razorbacks 31-22, and Eddie Sutton was displeased about that. But watch his Ricky Norton hit the jumper to win it.
Now, those, of course, are the teams that dominate the Southwest, Arkansas and Houston, as they have all season long. But down with SMU, much of the credit belongs to Coach Dave Bliss. Now, as Vern Lundquist tells us, he has groomed the feisty young Mustangs into tournament dark horses. He's done a marvelous job.
Believe it or not, before hitting a long dry spell, the Mustangs ran wild in the Southwest. In 1956, SMU rode all the way to the Final Four. The driving force was the late Doc Hayes, who in 20 years won 8 conference titles. Hayes retired in 1967, and he left a sound program as his legacy.
1967 was also the last time the SMU basketball team was invited to participate in the NCAA postseason tournament. The ensuing 17 years have been quite difficult, with many more losing seasons than winning. However, 4 years ago, Dave Bliss was invited here to the Hilltop to rebuild this program.
Let's go 5 baskets. That's it, Reg. All right, stir it up. Hey, baby. Glenn, hands, Scott.
Who is this miracle worker, and what is the secret of his success? Well, perhaps one clue is that Bliss spent almost 10 years as an apprentice to Bobby Knight, first at Army, then at Indiana. In fact, some say the two men became so close they even started looking like one another. In 1975, Oklahoma made Bliss its head coach. He led the Sooners to their first Big 8 title in 30 years before moving on to SMU. As always, he took with him the wisdom of Bobby Knight.
The important things are the discipline and the hard work and the things that you learn from Bob that way, because the game changes so much and we're in a different area of the country. We probably don't play anything like they would expect a disciple of Bob Knight to play.
He has, I think, taken some parts of what we do and added to that to develop a real good system of play, both here at SMU and prior to that when he was at Oklahoma.
Another dividend of Bliss's association with Knight is his ability to assess and recruit high school talent. This season, SMU's best in almost 3 decades, Bliss has started 3 sophomores and 2 juniors, believing that experience is the best teacher, even the experience of losing.
We must have had the best time of any team 6-21 ever. You know, we had a great chemistry on the team, and you know, we really got excited to be able just to play, you know, and you know, it's tough that we did lose that many games. I think we lost 13 straight at one time, and you know, we just knew that if we keep working hard, we would get better and things would happen.
I tell you, we got no better person to have Larry Davis there for us. Big David. Hey, Dave, I know you've been praying all game, baby.
An NCAA bid, the first in 17 years, would be an answer to all the prayers of a team that has turned itself around.
It's the greatest feeling to come to a program that's down, and then all of a sudden they're on top of the world. That's the greatest feeling.
And the Far West region is coming up, and we continue here on CBS in just a moment. Texas El Paso. And in the PCAA, last year's NIT champion, Fresno State, earned a bid yesterday by upsetting Nevada, Las Vegas.
The Fresno State Bulldog is looking for D, as in Boyd Grant's defense. But UNLV's Danny Tarkanian gets loose for a driving layup. But all game long, Bernard Thompson gave Coach Jerry Tarkanian a gigantic headache. Watch this off-balance act. And Fresno State celebrates the championship.
Nevada, Reno gets the Big Sky Conference bid. San Diego will represent the West Coast Athletic Conference. And, Billy, for the third year in a row, I'll tell you, the talent's thin out west.
Well, it is. Of course, you don't have as many universities, obviously, and the Pac-10 has been down, which anytime you get a major league in that part of the country down, you're hurting a little bit. But one league that's not down is a league with the running Rebs in it right here. You see Richie Adams, a fellow who was out of favor last year, and there's Jerry. You never could tell if that was a good play or a bad play. He's kind of like Guy Lewis in that respect. But Danny Tarkanian, the great assist man, also shows that he can shoot from the outside, hitting that jumper. UNLV going for #1 ranking. They've lost some tough games. Here's a JC transfer, Spoon. Can hit it on in there very well with the outside shot. James, an excellent shooter. Fresno State, nobody plays defense any better than Boyd Grant's club. They've got some great forwards. Ron Anderson on the inside or the outside, teaming up with Bernard Thompson are tough to beat. And Boyd Grant really slows down that tempo and playing that tough defense makes it difficult to ever break out. And Bernard Thompson's got one of the best small forwards in the country. Excellent leadership there. And here's Oregon State, obviously going to get in. Had another excellent year under Ralph Miller. They've got those bookend forwards and Green and Charlie Sitton. There's Green going in for that dunk against Michigan State. A ball club that can run, plays solid defense, moves the ball well, and there's Green again on another good shot on the inside. Ralph Miller, one of the winningest coaches in college basketball, knows how to have his team prepared. Good feed inside to Charlie Sitton for the left-hander. Definitely a team that'll cause problems. And Texas El Paso. Everybody knows about this ball club. They made it to the Final Four and won the national championship what seems like 100 years ago. That was played at the University of Maryland. But the same coach is still there, Don Haskins, who really plays the tough defense also. Fred Reynolds, another power guy that can play a number of swing positions, either forward or guard. And there's a good one going in for his shot on the inside. It's a team with pretty good depth, a club that you'll have to play well to beat.
Billy, some of the hopefuls out west, New Mexico, BYU, Montana, and, of course, Weber State. Billy, why is the PCAA taken over from the Pac-10?
Well, that's a question I really can't be sure about. They have some excellent coaches there. They've been able to recruit a lot of kids and keep them on the West Coast. And Danny Tarkanian gave everybody something to shoot at. And I really think that they're a better league right now, particularly at the top, than the Pac-10.
I bet you remember the last time a team won the NCAA tournament in its hometown. 12 years ago, the 1972 final, UCLA won it in Los Angeles. Now this year, as Steve Grody tells us, there is another Pac-10 team that hopes to claim a home city advantage in the Final Four.
This is Seattle, Washington, tucked way up yonder in the northwest. It's a picturesque city on the Puget Sound, a city known for its Space Needle, the Seahawks, and the Supersonics, but not necessarily known for college basketball. This is the Kingdome, the site of the 1984 NCAA championship, the Final Four, and it's in Seattle. Hello, I'm Steve Grody. Seattle is the site where every single team in the country would like to play on the night of April 2nd. The road to Seattle, the Final Four, the championship game is a long and hard one. Everyone knows that. But there's one team that doesn't have to travel very far. They're the neighborhood kids, the Washington Huskies.
Okay, let's go. All right.
It sounds good, Final Four in 84. We can upset some people, and we're looking forward to doing that.
We have a good chance to make it to the Final Four.
We have to keep on winning just to fulfill our dreams.
There's a new accent on winning this season in Washington, a foreign one. Number 22, Detlef Schrempf, the Huskies' leading scorer and rebounder, and number 47-foot center Christian Velp are both from West Germany. They grew up playing under the rough-and-tumble international rules, but have now adapted well to the fast and flashy American game.
It's just the excitement, the crowd is into it, and all the people come to the game, the band and all that, and you don't get that over in Europe at all.
I feel like an American playing ball in America, not like in German playing ball in America.
Washington's two precision imports have blended well with a group of high-performance Americans, turning the former also-rans into leaders of the pack.
We have a good ball club, and we had a desire to win, and the coaches giving us some outstanding place to run, and we're working well together.
That coach, of course, is Marv Harshman.
All right, let's go.
In 39 seasons, Harshman has racked up 618 victories. Only Ray Meyer, among the active Division I coaches, has more. Now Harshman is getting himself and his team in shape for the tournament and a trip down the yellow brick road, which he hopes will lead him to his own backyard.
I keep telling everybody, including the players, that, you know, North Carolina State did it, and that this time, even in the season, no one would have bet on them last year, and as they got into the NCAA, no one was still betting on them, but they just kept winning. But it's a long, long road, you know. We're not kidding ourselves. It would be something a little short of a miracle, probably, but not much.
The women's pairings, when we continue here on CBS in just a moment. One team now remains to be discussed at length, DePaul. The Blue Demons will be entering their final tournament under the leadership of Ray Meyer. But age 70 is the game's winningest active coach. He's a holdover, of course, from another era when basketballs had laces and they jumped center after every field goal. The sport has come a long, long way, but looking back after 42 seasons, Ray Meyer hasn't really changed all that much.
As a player, Ray Meyer led Notre Dame to a national title. He stayed on as an assistant coach, trading in his two-handed set shot for a clipboard and a whistle. Then, in 1942, DePaul needed a head coach, and Ray Meyer answered his calling.
I wanted a one-year contract because I didn't know whether I wanted to stay in coaching. I didn't think I would like it, but then I started with George Mikan, and we won, so I loved it.
Big George Mikan, the game's first dominant center. He was Meyer's ticket to the top in the mid-40s. Other superstars followed. Mark Aguirre and Terry Cummings. They made coaching pure joy.
I look back now, I think I would have missed something in coaching had we not had those superstars. But I enjoyed them. I enjoyed having them play for me because they certainly won a lot of ball games for DePaul University and myself.
Those stars have taken Meyer to the Final Four, but never to the championship game. And in recent years, the tournament has turned into a series of one-night stands. In 1980, UCLA upended DePaul. And against St. Joe's a year later, the Blue Demons simply beat themselves.
Dillard's prepared to go to the line for the front end of a 1-and-1. It's on its way. It is no good. He missed it. Into the hands of Warwick. Look out. 9 seconds, 8 seconds, 7 seconds. Lob up to McFarland. Underneath to Smith. He scores! 2 seconds. 1 second. Time is out. That's it. They have lost it. I don't believe it.
He was crushed. Coach was literally crushed when we lost to St. Joe. There was a lot of negative publicity in Chicago and everywhere, and that really affected him. I think one of the reasons is he's never had negative criticism before, so he wasn't used to coping with it.
The criticism continued after a third straight opening game defeat. By now, Meyer felt the hurt not for himself, but for his basketball players.
I would get another crack at it. They wouldn't. And I know I felt badly for maybe a week afterward, but so what? We lost. Maybe we get another chance.
Watch it, Tony!
Meyer thinks this year's club may well be his best ever. The players are approaching the tournament with high expectations for themselves and for their coach.
We knew this would be the last year, and we wanted to play as well as we could and try to give the man a championship. You know, all great coaches usually go out with a championship. We just like to give him his due.
John Wooden bowed out, winning his 10th national title in 1975. Al McGuire was the sentimental favorite in his final season when Marquette went all the way in 1977. And this year it's Ray Meyer who has captured the hearts of fans not just in Chicago but across the country. And a national title would be the perfect ending to the final chapter.
If I were to win the national championship in my final season, the tears would come down, and be tears of joy, and I would just be bubbling over with happiness for myself, for the team, my family, and the university. I don't think I could get a happier moment in my life.
a lot different circumstances, Brent, than what's happened in a lot of major programs. Joey has been involved with his father as a player and as assistant coach for a long time. He knows the system. He knows what it takes at DePaul to win. He's been heavily involved in recruiting. He's heavily involved in the practice situation and in running the ball game. So I don't think this will be a big changeover as it has been with other programs.
Now, Billy Packer says North Carolina will be the top seed in the East, Kentucky in the Mid-East, DePaul in the Midwest, and Georgetown in the West. Have I got it right?
I would go along with that. I think that's the way it's going to be.
All right. Now, coming up next here on CBS, live NCAA action. Purdue will take on Minnesota. Then, following the game, you'll see live coverage of the final round of the 1984 Doral Open. And at 5:30 Eastern Time, we'll return with the live announcement of the NCAA tournament pairings on the road to Seattle. We'll find out if Billy is 100% accurate. Now, before we go, though, we would like to leave you with one final look back at last year's spectacular tournament and the Cinderella story of its champion, North Carolina State.
The preceding message provided by the NCAA.
Right here, there's one left. Virginia called it. Now, what happened? Othell Wilson called it. Terry Holland wasn't sure that he really wanted it. But that was a case where Houston just lost their patience completely.
The only substitution that Guy Lewis has made is 14, and he makes a very critical turnover.
There's the walk by Akeem Olajuwon. He took the steps on the inside, and they were just too impatient. And here they come, the Blitz brothers, creating the steal. Super play by Othell Wilson. Franklin couldn't catch him. He actually twisted his ankle right there. Great layup by Wilson.
Wilson this year in one game had 7 steals. That is a Virginia record, but that was one of the bigger steals he's made in his career.
Gary, think about this team in the NCAA tournament. Iona. Wilson goes and hits that pounding shot on the inside with his penetration. Then, of course, the win against Arkansas, where Wilson tries to go up with a shot. Robertson knocks it out of his hands. Carlisle gets it, hits the jump shot to win that one at the buzzer. And then Indiana, A game that could have very easily gone to Bobby Knight's Hoosiers, and Virginia came away with Evelyn's great steal to win that ball game.
And they survived the last shot of that game. So 15 seconds left. It's all even at 43, and the Cinderella team from Charlottesville, Virginia, continues to just amaze people. And Hakeem, who said he wanted this time to come back for the third time and win it all, and now they're in a very precarious situation.
Nobody expected Virginia to be here. Matter of fact, when they lost in the opening round of the Atlantic Coast Conference Tournament, there wasn't a lot of hope that they'd even be invited to the NCAA tournament this year. The difficulty of their schedule had an awful lot to do with that, and of course the quality of play of all the teams in the Atlantic Coast Conference allowed them to go 5 deep.
Remember now, the last 2 years, the championship was won by an ACC team. Virginia would like to keep that going, and this team's looking more and more like the Wolfpack of a year ago.
Guy Lewis is actually out on the floor now, talking to his ball club, 5 feet out on the court.
Well, they're not going to call technical now. 15 seconds, here we go.
Okay, now let's see the defense first. If Houston goes to man-to-man, which it looks like they are, Othell Wilson will take this shot, or he'll take the move going one-on-one with whoever's guarding him.
They double-teamed him with 5 seconds, broken up by Hakeem, and they call a timeout with 1. Did they get it stopped? They should have. They should have some time left on the clock.
Gary, what I think happened in Virginia right there was unfortunate for their deployment of their people. Othell Wilson got the ball in bounds, which then he tried to beat his man from 40 feet. That's very difficult. You like to have the ball in the hands of Othell Wilson without his dribble.
Billy, there will be 2 seconds on the clock. They reset the clock, so they did get the timeout.
Now, here's what I'm talking about. See, Othell Wilson's got the ball so far out, you'd rather have him get the ball for the first time without his dribble at the top of the key. Now, he's lost right now. Good double team. Boy, Polynice was wide open. Good hands by Elijah inside. Geddes calls the timeout. The officials wisely put the 2 seconds back on the clock.
And there's the time that they put back up. The clock operator did not stop it. It had expired, but very wisely, the officials have done a very good job here today. Get the time back on. Now, all right, timeout situation. Both have 1 left. Of course, if you go into overtime, you have 1 added to that total.
Now, you've got a tough job if you're Houston. You got the ball about 70 feet from the basket. Are you going to try to throw that lob and have Hakeem go for it? Or are you going to go ahead and just take a desperation half-court shot or down the sideline type shot? I think back to the University of North Carolina against Arkansas this year. Almost the same type of play when they tried to go down the sideline, get the ball to Michael Jordan. But Houston really doesn't have a Michael Jordan type. You might think about saying, let's go for the alley-oop to Hakeem, but the one thing you'd have to impress on him, don't push off when you're going up in the air to get the shot.
And, of course, if no one touches that ball and it goes out of bounds, on the other side, Virginia would have 2 seconds to come back.
In a much better place to put the ball in bounds. And, of course, the clock does not start until the ball touches a player in bounds. I'd expect Houston to try to set up a play for Michael Young down the sidelines.
Now, we have another man coming into the ball game for this Houston team for the first time.
Here. Now, you can see it's Alvin Franklin going to try to screen something for Michael Young. Here he is.
Michael Young, you called it, but he does not get it.
That showed you some range, didn't it?
Marvin Alexander was the guy they brought in. We have not even seen him this year, a junior. He did not touch the ball. Young did. He missed
defense a little bit. They're playing man-to-man.
Michael Young, who tried to hit the one that won it in overtime, misses here. Polynice for the rebound.
I was really surprised to see Virginia come out man-to-man. Now, Virginia with the lead in the ball, you better believe they're going to show a little 4 corners type. This may help Houston. This may bring them out of their defense and really start using their athletic talent.
Gary Hallman like to have Stokes out there in this delay game. Of course, he doesn't have him in there now. Out it comes to Wilson. Carlisle, that surprise you?
It did that he took the shot at all.
That's what I think. I'm surprised he took it.
And Hakeem, particularly from the corner. Hakeem coming out there, it wasn't really a good shot. I was surprised Virginia would take anything other than a layup, Gary. And they're in man-to-man. Edlin's playing Young.
Before the shot, 24.
That'll be Polynice. You can hear the instructions being barked out. That's only the first on Olden.
That was a good push by Polonese, though, because if Hakeem had been able to go ahead and gather himself there, he definitely would have scored with a dunk.
Now Elijah this year shooting only 53% from the free throw line.
He's hit him well today.
He can tie it up at the 2:51 mark.
A very pleasant man, young man. His father and mother have never seen him play this game.
Dead center, so throw all those statistics out the window.
And now Houston looks like they're going to change. They're in a 1-3-1 half-court zone trap now. A defense that really is going to cause Virginia some problems because they got tremendous size.
There's Miller having to catch up with it. The last overtime game in the semifinal round was in 1975, and UCLA beat Louisville 75-74.
This is an excellent defense for Houston. They've got so much size on the wings and great leapers. Wow, surprising shot there.
Same shot this time, the retrieve, and a nice job by Polonese. And Polonese tried to settle the ball club down. The freshman over there yelling out instructions. Miller had it broken up. He thought he was fouled.
I believe he was. Winslow got a piece of it. I'm surprised Virginia put the ball down in the corners, Gary.
2 minutes. 2 minutes left in overtime.
Now, Wilson on Franklin. What a challenge this is. Franklin has that great quickness.
Look at the Houston bench, Billy, standing up.
Virginia going man-to-man.
A keen, beautiful pass. Winslow can't have it. And wait a minute, that's off Winslow.
No, he changed his mind.
Yeah, I would think so. That has got to be off of Edler.
Yep. Good move by the official.
You don't expect Hakeem when he gets up to pass like that, and fortunately, Winslow was alert enough to stay with it. There is Michael Young.
Oh, what a shot. What a shot.
17 points by Young, 2-point lead for Houston. A minute 37, you see it, left in overtime.
Now Houston gets out of the 1-3-1 trap. They're going to pack it back in. I think that trap was really a good defense for them. You don't want to give Virginia any layups, but when you have that 1-3-1 trap and Hakeem down inside, he's going to eliminate the layups.
Carlisle has been reluctant to take the shot, has he?
Nice job. Nice job by Young coming out on him. Just relaxing. It's amazing what difference experience makes.
1 minute to go. Miller. Winslow was in his face. Hakeem with the rebound. Now, how long do you go before you foul him?
Well, you try to go for the steals here. Othell Wilson try to get the steal on Franklin.
Hakeem backing in.
Now, Virginia's got to put it up quickly here. Othell Wilson got to put it up quickly. Good move.
Doesn't go, but he gets his own rebound. 22 seconds. Carlisle. He's fouled on his move by Ricky Winslow with 18 seconds left.
Well, Winslow almost had to foul there, but he'd been better off going ahead and try to draw the charge.
Foul is charged to Ricky Winslow.
Big rebounds down the other end. And Virginia really lost their composure in this overtime, Gary.
Well, they didn't get a crack at it in regulation. That's probably the most disappointing thing to Terry Holland. They didn't get a shot on.
And they took the shots from the corner, which was very surprising against Houston when they had the lead.
Stokes comes in. Terry Holland trailing by 4 with 18 seconds to go.
Now, if they get these two fouls, you can believe that there's going to be a foul committed.
Guy Lewis trying to get the timeout, and they get the timeout.
Obviously, the reason for that timeout, Gary, twofold. One, a little pressure on Carlisle as he goes over thinking about it on the bench, and also to get his team totally organized. Now, if you're Virginia, as soon as Houston gets that ball in bounds, I believe we'll see Virginia put them on the foul line.
Let's set it up a little bit. Let's just say that Carlisle hits the second one, cuts it to 2. Geddes usually is the guy that inbounds, so that takes one of your good free throw shooters out of there right away.
Well, the first thing you don't want to do is just to commit that deliberate foul and put a man on the line. Play by Hakeem. He should have got the ball back outside because all they needed was possession. Remind me of Dallas Carnegie's into the DePaul loss. Wilson's going to penetrate.
You see the time. Wilson in trouble. Young's got it, and Houston's going to win it.
It's very difficult, Gary, to go down in the trees and get off something inside. And so the Cougars, for the second straight year, are in the championship game. With 12 points and 12 rebounds. Guy Lewis just came over here. I shook his hand, he said, grinningly, and he knows how tough a win it was. He said, just another piece of cake. But I know the 62-year-old veteran is glad to be back and one victory away from winning the national championship. Let's go now to Brent Musburger.
All right, and our Chevrolet most valuable players from this game for the winning Houston Cougars, Akeem Olajuwon, who made those two mighty important rebounds in overtime. And for the courageous Virginia Cavaliers, their floor leader and guard, Othell Wilson. Still to come, we've got the showdown between Kentucky and Georgetown. That's ahead of us. We're also going to be talking to the coach of North Carolina State, Jim Valvano, and we will hear from Guy Lewis and the winning Cougars when we continue here on CBS after these messages from your local stations.